my name is Nada if you don't know me, and I was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes when I was 6 years old. I've been living with it for 9 years now, and I'm here to tell you all about it. So whether you're someone who's watching this video who is just like, I just got diagnosed with diabetes and I have no idea what's going on, I just want, some information on it, or like what to expect, this is gonna happen in my life now, or if you're just like someone just curious about the disease and you're just like, hey, I just wanna know, what it's like to be a diabetic, well, you come to the right place. So yeah, this video is basically just like a guide for what it's like being a diabetic and what to expect, what to know, and just how life is going to be now that you have a new disease. In this video, I'll be talking about the general background of the disease, some basic diabetes diet recommendations, some diabetes professionals that you're likely to see, how to monitor your diabetes, some diabetes tech and innovations, some recommendations for exercise, and finally how to cope with the disease. This is more of a part 2 to a video that my brother made a few years ago, so if you haven't seen that video first, I really recommend watching that because it has a lot of information too, and that's down in the description below. This video will go more in depth about the topics that he talked about, and I'll review some other topics that he already mentioned. So let's get started. Imagine your circulatory system as a big highway that travels all throughout your body. Your red blood cells are trucks and truck drivers that are carrying cargo to every cell. Your pancreas is a very important organ involved in diabetes. It's a long, spongy-looking organ that sits behind your stomach, and it makes a hormone called insulin. In this scenario of highways and truck drivers, it's the policeman. When you eat something with carbohydrates or sugars, these are broken down and released into your bloodstream through your small intestine. The sugar is then loaded onto the trucks as cargo, and the sugar starts circulating through your blood. When the pancreas senses this, it releases insulin, or the policeman. These policemen go to all different parts of the bloodstream, to all different intersections, and they direct the trucks where to go. One policeman, for example, would tell some of the trucks to drop off their cargo in this group of muscle cells, while another may tell the trucks to go drop off their cargo at this group of lung cells. Therefore, the policemen stop the sugar from piling up in the bloodstream, and the body can return to its normal functioning state, or homeostasis. When you have type 1 diabetes, you don't have any policemen because your immune system has destroyed the beta cells in your pancreas that make them. So the trucks just keep circulating around the highway, unable to go anywhere because the roads to the cells are closed off. And that's a basic explanation of what happens when you have type 1 diabetes. Usually what people do is they add in insulin from outside of the body to replace the pancreas's action in producing insulin. A diabetic's diet should include mostly proteins, unsaturated fat, and fiber. These are all good nutrients for a diabetic because they do not raise blood sugar, yet they still provide the body with energy. However, these should not be the only nutrients you consume. It's important to have carbohydrates and other nutrients as well. So this is a meal plan for one day that I've composed that I think is pretty good at keeping a good ratio of protein, unsaturated fats, and fiber. It also does include some carbohydrates. I'll tell you about that later in the video when I talk about managing diabetes. So for breakfast, a good thing to have would be a banana, a fruit parfait with Greek yogurt, granola, and various fruits, some scrambled eggs, maybe with cheese, and some milk or water as the drink. Next, for lunch, a good meal would be a vegetable salad, a ham and cheese sandwich, and milk or water as the drink. A good dinner would be some quinoa with edamame. This is an already pre-packaged pack of edamame and quinoa together that you can just easily boil on the stove, and it makes really yummy, tasty quinoa in only 20 minutes. Another dinner option or something to go with the dinner is salmon with steamed vegetables and milk or water as the drink. A good snack before bed or just in between the day when you're working would be peanuts or mixed nuts of any kind, and a cheese stick or some type of protein dairy product. I usually have yogurt or cheese, so that's what I recommend. So we just went to Panera and I got cheddar broccoli soup, and that's a very good food for a diabetic. Well, one, it's like made out of cheese, and cheese has no carbs, so like that's great. And the rest of the stuff in it is broccoli and carrots. Again, they have completely low carbs. So this is a very low carb meal, and it's great for a diabetic. So if you have diabetes, one doctor that you're likely to see is someone called an endocrinologist. An endocrinologist is a doctor or scientist who is associated with the endocrine system in the body, or the system in the body that makes hormones, of which diabetes is a disease affecting the endocrine system because it affects the hormone insulin not being able to be produced or secreted. If you have diabetes, another doctor that you're likely to see is a nutritionist or a dietitian, and this is someone who will basically just help you get a meal plan or show you how to eat better now that you have the disease and how to just control your blood sugars better with food. Someone else you could talk to about your diabetes is a primary care physician. This is something that almost everyone has, and you can also talk to them about your diabetes and they can give you medical advice about that too. A diabetes education specialist is basically just someone who specializes in educating other people about diabetes. Because diabetics are more prone to getting vision loss as a side effect to having frequent high blood sugars, they often see an ophthalmologist frequently. I personally get a checkup from my ophthalmologist every year, and I get a checkup from my endocrinologist and my dietitian every 3 months. Someone you're most likely not to see if you have diabetes is a clinical researcher, because that's just someone who researches diabetes but is still part of helping other people manage their diabetes. They do all sorts of things with trying to figure out new information about making new pumps or making diabetes software more accurate. Now, another side effect of having frequent high blood sugars is the walls of the veins and blood vessels in your feet often become a bit melted or just a bit weak from having so much sugar in the blood. So the legs start to look a bit purple, your nerves and your blood vessels are affected. So someone else you might see if you have diabetes is a podiatrist, or someone who just examines your feet and makes sure that they are good, or shows you, hey, I think you're getting some early symptoms of having side effects of high blood sugars and stuff. So they'll just tell you if your feet are good or not. I personally do not see a podiatrist because my feet are nowhere near that condition. They're perfectly healthy and they're good. And my endocrinologist actually examines my body when I come in for my checkup. So she makes sure that I'm not giving too many shots in one place, so I'm not forming scars underneath my skin, and that all my tissues are doing fine and I'm healthy. Someone else that you can see if you have diabetes is a psychiatrist or a psychologist, just if you're having trouble coping with the disease. And it's totally understandable because this is a huge wave of oh my god, I have this new disease that is going to be with me for the rest of my life. So it could be important to seek professional help about that and just trying to cope with it and making sure that you're okay. So a lot of times when you'll go in for a checkup, you'll get a test called an A1C test. And this is something that tests your glycogen hemoglobin, which is your blood plasma. The test is limited up to 3 months because that is the typical lifespan of a red blood cell. Most diabetics have an A1C goal of 7.5. That is my goal too. Something else that you'll need to do daily is check your blood sugar. This can be done with either finger sticks, a meter, and a poker, or a CGM or a continuous glucose monitor. You should check your blood sugar usually before you eat, give an injection, or are being physically active or are about to be physically active. Alright, so now I'm going to show you guys how I test my blood sugar. So I take my meter, an alcohol swab, a poker, and a test strip. There we go. So I have all my supplies. So what you're going to do is you're going to insert your test strip into the meter, and it should make a beeping sound, and it should display this, which means it's ready to put in some blood. Then take out your alcohol swab, whip off a finger, and shake it or blow it off because you don't want the alcohol diluting your blood because that can interfere with blood sugar. Then just poke yourself, get about that much blood, a nice good squeeze, and let's test your blood sugar. So I'm 210 right now, and that is a bit high, but I cannot give myself a correction because if I were to give myself correction, I would go down to 110, which will actually send me low very quickly. So I'm okay with staying up high and just kind of coasting down until I have my next meal. This is how I give myself Lentis. This is my 24-hour insulin, and right now is a good time to take it because it's at nighttime, and this is about the time where I would give myself a good shot. So first I'm going to squeeze all the air bubbles out of the syringe. When you first get a new syringe, it should have about a unit of air inside that just lets you know that it's unused. So just squish that out. And then I have my little Lentis vial here. I'll just insert it through the tip and draw in the amount of insulin that I need. Right now I'm on 15 units of Lentis. so I'll just get that really quickly. You're gonna want to flick the bubbles out of the vial because that interferes with how much insulin is in the vial. You want it to be exactly 15 or exactly as close to however much that you want. Dry it out again, wait for all the bubbles to disappear. And now you have a nice good syringe of 15 units of Lentis. Don't know if you can see the numbers, but there they are, 15 units. And now I'll just insert it into my stomach is what I usually do. I'll kind of do this so you guys can see. Here it is. You didn't even see that. And there you go. Make sure to sanitize it afterwards so that the area doesn't get infected or anything. Now I'm going to show you guys how to give yourself a shot of Novolog through a pen. This is what I usually use. So you have your disposable needle right here, and you have your pen with your vial of Novolog and everything. Oh, and of course you have an alcohol swab. So what you're going to do, take off the cover of the needle, sanitize the head of the pen, stick the needle onto the pen and screw it in. You need to take off the white cap and then the little safety green thing, and there's your needle. Don't know if you can see it again. There it is. Mine are very tiny just because I don't have a lot of fat in my body, and so yeah, I just need something very small in order to get the insulin in. So over here you have your little dial of numbers. I don't need any insulin right now, but I'll just show you how it works. So you can just dial to however many units you need, and then you press the button to squirt it out. And there you can see the insulin is dripping. Yeah, and that's basically how you use a pen. And I forgot to say, with the Lentis, you can, usually people put it either in their stomach or in their butt. For this, you can do basically anywhere. You can do stomach, arms, thighs, and butt. So that's pretty cool. And with a pump, you can probably either do the stomach or the back. I've never really seen someone wear their pump on their arm. That would seem a bit too heavy. But on the stomach or on the back, or sometimes on the thigh, is what most people do. So now I'm going to show you guys how I replace my Dexcom sensor, not the transmitter. I'll explain to you while I'm doing that. So my transmitter just hangs out right here, kind of on my side, and it's a pretty good place for it. It doesn't bother me much when I'm sitting, when I'm lying in my bed. I can barely feel it. Here, I'll show you it. That's what it looks like on my skin. This is a bit of the tape that kind of is getting loose, and that's why I need to change it. Yeah, it just looks like that. So in order to change it, first I need to go stop my sensor, so I'll do that. Now that I've stopped my sensor session, I can just peel off the old sensor. There we go. That was just a little bit of dry blood, that black stuff that you see. You can easily take it off. So that was my old injection site, and that was my old sensor. Now, this gray thing on top is a transmitter, and this is something that you use every time. This is something that you keep for a while. So what you do is you just pull these two things right here, these two flaps apart, and you can easily pop the transmitter out. This is the sensor, and this gets thrown away. So I'm gonna go do that. So now you're left with your transmitter and a brand new sensor. So what you'll do is you'll take the sensor out of the package. So this is what it looks like out of the package. The only thing that's gonna stay on your body is this little part right here, this little flat part. This is just to help you put it in. Now we're gonna close up that side for a while, and we'll leave that site to peel, and we'll go over to this side. What you'll need to do, of course, is clean the site area with an alcohol swab. So you just clean this area right here. Then you peel off these little safety tabs to protect the adhesive, and you stick it right onto where you want to keep your sensor. So I'm gonna put mine right about here, and I'll smooth down the little tabs, the adhesive tabs, until it's all firmly covered. Next, I'll take off this safety lock right here so that I can now push it in. What I'll do is I'll pinch the front part. This is kind of where the needle, oh, sorry, that was my cat. This is kind of where the needle's gonna go, so I'm gonna pinch up a little bit of fat, get a little bit of skin. Now I'm gonna hold the pen part like this. This part is gonna sting a little bit, and it's gonna make a little clicking sound. You'll know when the first part is in when you hear 2 clicks. So it's gonna sound like this. And then you'll pull up this little thing like I just did. Now what you do to take this off, you squeeze these little edges and you rock it forward. And now you're just left with this. Next, to put your transmitter in, don't forget to sanitize it with alcohol. Next, you're going to slide it into the front part and push up on this little tab until it clicks in, and you just twist to take it out, and there you go, you've replaced your Dexcom. So most people with type 1 diabetes will need to take insulin injections to replace the insulin that they cannot make within their bodies. You can do this with either a syringe, a pen, or an insulin pump. If you are using a syringe or a pen, you'll likely have two types of insulin. One is a basal insulin, which is 24 hours and is slow acting, and it just keeps your blood sugar levels steady throughout the day. The second type of insulin you'll need is a bolus insulin, or a quick acting insulin that you usually take after you eat a meal, or if for some reason your blood sugar is high. If you use a pump for insulin administration, you won't need both types of insulin. You'll just need the fast-acting one, and your pump will automatically secrete little amounts of insulin throughout the day, so you won't need that second type of insulin. Most diabetics take their Lantus, this is the 24-hour insulin, at night or in the morning. Novolog is usually taken before a meal so that it balances out the level of glucose that you're about to eat and brings your sugar back to normal. Oh, and this fast-acting insulin is usually called Novolog. So, of course, you know the main diabetes supplies are glucose meters and pokers and sticks, CGMs, syringes, pens, and pumps. In this section, I'll mostly talk about CGMs and pumps as they're the latest innovations in the diabetic world. The CGM I use is called a Dexcom, which is probably the most popular brand of CGMs on the market right now. It's incredibly helpful because it's so tiny, I can barely feel it. It sends glucose information right to my phone. I always know what my blood sugar is at all times of the day. I only have to poke my fingers a few times a week to calibrate it. And I get notified if my blood sugars are off, and this is very helpful, especially at night when I'm sleeping and I don't notice that I'm low. My phone just makes a beeping sound and it wakes me up, and I can easily wake up and treat my blood sugar. If you're newly diagnosed with diabetes, I understand if you want to get used to the finger strips first and poking yourself, that may seem a bit less invasive, but once you're ready, I highly recommend it. It's so easy to use, and I know my blood sugar at all times of the day. If you're thinking about getting an insulin pump, a lot of insulin pumps already have built-in CGMs, so you might want to research your pump a little bit before buying a CGM separately. There are a lot of pumps out there on the market, including Animas Ping, Accu-Chek Spirit Combo, Asante Snap, Medtronic, Paradigm Revel, Insulet Omnipod, Soil, I don't know, US Diabecare 2S, and the Tandem Diabetes T Slim. The Insulet Omnipod was the one that I was looking at for a while because it's the only tubeless pump where the controller is connected wirelessly to the pod. The insulin pump that I'm looking at now is called the MiniMed 67OG Closed Loop System, which is a pump that tracks your blood sugar and your insulin and adjusts your levels for you. You don't have to press any buttons to start your insulin flowing when you're high. It does it all for you. When it senses that you're going low, it'll stop your basal insulin until your body naturally recovers, or it'll help prevent an extremely low crash from having too much insulin. And when you're high, it just gives you more insulin so that your sugar goes back down and you have to do almost nothing, which I think is absolutely incredible. If you get a pump, I highly recommend getting this one, except it is not made for children typically under the age of 7, because it does require to give at least 8 units of insulin a day in order to function correctly. Exercise can definitely lower your blood sugar and help you control it. Through a process called glycolysis, glucose in the blood is converted into ATP when the body is exercising to make sure the cells still have energy. So with some sort of reaction with the ATP and the GLUT4, the glucose is able to get into cells even without insulin. This is only happening when you're exercising or in some sort of starvation state. Don't starve if you're a diabetic. I'll explain why later. Hey, so this video took 2 days, so I'm in a different shirt. But other than that, I wanted to explain this at this part of the video right now. It's very important for a diabetic to have consistent meals because, and I've learned this especially from having my CGM, your Novolog and glucose combined lasts you in energy and sugar for about 3 to 4 hours at a time. So every time you eat and every time going to give yourself insulin. You should allow yourself to contain enough sugar within your blood so that you don't go low until the next time you eat. This is important because if you skip a meal, then that means that you're more likely to go low. So you do have to eat something at every 3 to 4 hour interval to prevent you from going low. And unless you don't want to do that, then you should give less insulin at every meal or no insulin at all. But that is bad because you're getting a high blood sugar basically, and that's bad for you. So that's why it's important for a diabetic not to skip a meal. But that's basically why it lowers your blood sugar. A lot of the times I'll have days when I'm just really high and I'll say to my dad, hey, can we go work with the horses? Can we go work in the garden? Can we go do something physically active? He'll say sure. And that definitely brings my blood sugar back to a normal state and I feel a lot better afterward. Alright, we're gonna get real personal here. I've got my nice little snuggy blanket and I'm ready to tell you guys how I feel. So, if you're someone who has just been recently diagnosed with diabetes, I am so sorry. This was not your fault at all. You didn't do anything to deserve this. You didn't do anything wrong with your life in order to get this. You just got it. Maybe it was from a disease, maybe it was from some type of genetic disorder, but it's not the end of the world now that you've got it. I remember when I was little, I didn't really know what was happening. I was very naive and kind of oblivious back then, and I just started realizing that every day I was getting shots and pokes, and I'm like, ooh, what's happening? And I thought it would just go away. And then my mom and my dad were like, no, this is gonna happen for the rest of your life. And I was like, ooh, I didn't even really know how to comprehend it. If you're someone who's young right now and who's diagnosed with it, your brain may just try to not think about it for a while. Eventually, I had tons of breakdowns, being like, oh my god, this is something that I'm gonna have to live with for the rest of my life. I don't know how I'm gonna do this. This seems like a lot, but I just want you to know that it does get easier as time goes on. You develop daily patterns and it just goes into your memory. Hey, I just need to have a little bit of insulin with every meal. I just need to test my blood sugar whenever I start to feel a bit dizzy or a bit tired. And it gets really easy very fast. And with all the innovations that people have come up with nowadays, it's incredibly easy to manage your diabetes. I showed you the pump with the closed loop system. That sounds amazing. You don't really have to think about it at all. It just does it all for you. And I just want you to know that there are so many things in the world and so many people who are here to help you, and it's really not as hard as you may think it might be. I just wanted to tell you that it really does get easier, and I'm living life now very happily for the most part, and my diabetes really doesn't affect me that much at all. So I just want you to know that. So thank you to Cassidy for helping me do the research and plan the video. I really appreciated it. Sorry that the lighting got increasingly weird as the video went on, but it's winter and it's hard to get stable lighting because as soon as you start coming home from school, the sun starts setting, so you're just out of time. You have to eat, do homework, get ready, finish your project, and then by the time you start filming, it's already dark, so I apologize for that. But other than that, I hope you guys really enjoyed the video. I hope it's helped you learn a lot. If you have any more questions, please leave a comment down below. Like this video if you liked it and you want me to do more videos like this. Sorry about the weird flips from day 1 to day 2 to in the greenhouse to in my bedroom. I don't know what went on, but I just wanted to say thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a great day, and I hope you learn a lot. And just thank you. Bye.